I will happily die on this hill, Jimbo, that there is a footballer in Lamine Fana, and not just a footballer, but a really good footballer. Rolled it in on a plate, slides in, pandemonium. There's some proper limbs behind that goal, and it just reminded me of the good times. Coincidence? I do not think it is, mate.
Was that you, was it?
You know me, mate. I don't take no credit for any of this stuff. But me and Jack, we know.
He buttered him up, didn't he? That's how good knowledge, Kev. He's not stopped going on about that, by the way. Jack, if you're watching, things might be on the up.
Don't think we're too far away from fans starting to find heroes again. If we achieve something, put a circle around the 25th of October. That moment there is the time this season's changed. Jack Wilshere picked up his first 3 points in charge of Luton Town on Saturday afternoon with a 1-0 victory at Sixfields against Northampton Town. Alongside me to reflect on a positive afternoon and indeed a positive week for Luton Town is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, that is pretty much what it is, isn't it? Positive week.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. I'm all for it.
Do you know what? I am so looking forward to this podcast.
I thought you might be.
And I'll explain exactly why. I'll probably keep this smile going right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we're going to look back on Northampton Town 0, Luton Town 1. Really positive afternoon of football for the town, and so much to talk about on the pitch. But Jimbo, let's start with things off the pitch actually, because you and I got an email out of the blue roughly this time last week inviting us to a content creator session at the football club where it was explained to us that we were going to see all of the backroom staff and Gary's suite, and really positive event, to be honest. Obviously we've put 3 of the interviews that we've done out already. 2 were out prior to the match day, and Chris Powell came out Sunday evening. What were your reflections on it?
Well, I'm still sort of in a nice haze about it, really, because it's we talked about a step in the right direction on the pitch in the bit before the intro, but I think it's more than that, really. It's a few big strides in the right direction, and still a long way to go, I suppose. But opening it up to, not just us. I mean, we've been around the club as, I write about the football club, so I go to the press conferences and I go to games and things like that. But to other people as well, opening it up and allowing them to go down there and having that fan avenue opened up again, because all the things we were hearing from people, and we do hear from a lot of you, and it's a lot in the comments, but people come and talk to us as well, is that there was that distance between the club and the fans, for 2 years now, probably. And people always reference back to the St George Square interview with Gary Sweet and stuff like that, and how things have not gone the way that they would like it. And I think it's probably an element of the club recognising that, trying something different. And I've really with the game and editing our stuff, and it was my mum's birthday as well. Happy birthday, Mum, love you. I've not got to look at the other content creators' stuff as well, but I really am looking forward to looking at it to see how they approach it. But in terms of our stuff that we've put out, we put out the Gary Sweet interview that you did, and the Jack Wilshere one as well, which you did as well, because I've spoken to him enough already, and so I thought it'd be good for you to have a chat with him. And then, just before we started recording here, we've put out the Chris Powell interview, which I did, and I just think it's a very fascinating man. I was very excited about the appointment when he came, because I was a bit dubious about an untried manager. But when you pair him with Chris Powell and all the things that he's achieved in his career, not just in club level, but at England. And the thing about it for me was that culture shift in England. And I've spoken about this before. It's what Luton needs. And this all felt like a culture shift. And so, yeah, I'm really pleased with all of that. I'm glad other people got to go down there and see the training ground and stuff, the gym and all the facilities, because they're top notch. And it's not something you get to see a lot of the time in person. So, yeah, I mean, we've still got some more videos to come out. We've got the two coaches, David Bridges and Tim Corcoran, to come out, and you got a chat with Yusuf Sajed as well, the player recruitment manager. So we'll put those out one a day at the start of this week. So one will come out hopefully after you've watched this very soon. But just a very sort of positive afternoon, positive evening, positive week, and the result sort of fed into that as well, but kind of tied into what was spoken about. You know, the interview that you did with Jack Wilshere. Well, it's a question I've got to ask you as well, because I mean, I have to say I didn't go to the game, unfortunately. As I said, my mum's birthday, I went to that instead. I've got loads of questions for you, but a lot of it sort of ties back to that stuff. And the first one really is, you spoke to Jack Wilshere. It's such a very interesting discussion about the way he sees the tactical development and also the way he can make, he didn't say this, but sort of make the fans fall back in love with this team. How much of what Jack Wilshere told you did you see at Sixfields?
I saw more of it than I saw against Mansfield. Yeah, I did. Obviously, having Millie Ali ill and Shaden Morris injured probably doesn't help, because he mentioned about wide players going past their man, didn't they? And we played Jake Richards wide on the right, and we'll come on to the game in a minute and how that worked and everything else. But in terms of controlling the game, in terms of being on the front foot, in terms of rebounding from using resilience when we needed to use it, yeah, I saw all of that. I saw an improvement on the Mansfield game. It was very much positive. As I said in the instant reaction, it was the best performance of the season. I know some people think that we were better at Burton, and to the eye we were. But then when you put the situation, when you put the opposition into the mix as well, you know, I don't want to disrespect Burton, but they're one above the relegation zone or whatever they were. They looked like a side who were overawed by us. Northampton didn't. And we outplayed them for large parts. Of course, we fell back on our sword when we went 1-0 up, because a win was so vital to everything that we've done over the last week. But up until that point, I thought we were really, really good. And in terms of progression from the first game, yeah, I'm really, really, really happy. And yeah, everything that he told us, I can see what we're trying to do. And there's lots of building blocks, isn't there? I mean, if you've watched the Chris Powell interview, you'll know that they're well aware of where we are, and they're well aware of where we can get to, but we can't get there in one step. You know, we use my ladder analogy. We've got to climb the ladder, haven't we? And that's what we're doing, mate.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of my conversations with Jack Wilshere so far have involved the word confidence. But I did pose the question in the pre-match press conference to the Northampton game that perhaps there's also resilience is a thing. And I know you've brought this up as well. How do we go from, you know, sometimes playing okay, but then if you get a bit of adversity against you, or a punch on the nose, as you say, how do you get back up and keep fighting? And I think that that's a key part of it. And, you know, I saw your instant reaction saying that, you know, played well, but then people might talk about the ending of the match. But that's resilience, isn't it? And yes, a bit of luck perhaps, but we haven't had a lot of luck a lot of the time. So perhaps that's it. And I do often think that there's moments in games that can change fortunes. And so the hacking a Doffin clearance and the celebrations from it felt like something I've not seen for a while. And Jack summed it up after the game, really. He said it was unity, and that's what it felt like. And God, I've been banging on about unity for ages, fearing that it was going, and it had. But if that's the start of it coming back, then I'm all for it, because it's one of the best things about supporting this football club is that when we're all together and when it's going fantastically well and everyone's on the same page, it does feel like an unstoppable force. And you go to games thinking, right, we're going to turn this team over, not in an arrogant way, just we're full of confidence. And it hasn't been like that for a while.
And the other thing you've called for is the fun. You want the fun back.
Yeah.
And you know what? Saturday was fun. Now, there have been many a Saturday this season where we've gone to, well, home grounds or away grounds, and the atmosphere have been like you sat in a dungeon or, you know, in a funeral or something like that. That wasn't the case yesterday. Okay, in the first half, it was a bit slow and it was a bit tricky to get an atmosphere going. There was a howling wind and it was a bit chilly and everything else. But at no stage did I think, well, we're in trouble here. Northampton are going to score. I think Keeley made one save in the first half, but it wasn't a save that I wouldn't expect him to make. It was a save that you'd expect him to make. Obviously, we had other chances. We'll come on to the game in a minute anyway, because let's just go back to Thursday, because what I was really happy with was they put the whole coaching staff forward. Because no disrespect to the previous regime and everything that's gone on, and I want to forget about the previous regime. I want to start afresh pretty much from Thursday, actually, and just look to the future. But I couldn't pick out Matt's assistant manager and his first team coach in a lineup. If you paid me, I couldn't do it. I'd never seen the guys before. I don't know who they are. I've even forgotten their names because they were never referenced. Usually it's just the manager and the assistant manager that are put forward for these things. But the two first team coaches who've only just arrived, I think one of them said, never done any interviews like that before, which in itself is stark. But when you talk to them and when you hear our interviews with them later in the week, they're down-to-earth individuals who are very confident in their ability, and why wouldn't they be? But already you kind of get a sense that they've fallen in love with the place. And if we can build an attachment to those individuals, in turn, those individuals will boost the football players. And I don't think we're too far away from fans starting to find heroes again.
It's really important, that, isn't it? I did like that, because those two new coaches in particular, Tim Corcoran and David Bridges, are the people that are going to be working with those players to try and implement the ideas of Jack Wilshere and Chris Powell. Now, they're very much tracksuit coaches. They're going to be on there doing the stuff as well. But these first team coaches are, you often hear it in clubs, the manager has to be the man of authority, doesn't he? And the coaches maybe are more the link for the players to that. Hopefully that Jack's a bit closer. I think he will be, because he's younger and he's been around top class environments and stuff. But that's generally the sort of setup of the coaching situation. And I think it's important that we hear their ideas and what they've come in. And certainly for Tim Corcoran, who I spoke to, he's had a very interesting time of it in Arsenal, in that and I've got a lot of respect for this. It's almost how I got into journalism, was I just pestered people. And it's I'm not saying that he pestered Arsenal, but it felt like he just sort of turned up as a 16-year-old, tried to get any sort of experience he could, and worked his way up from, kit man and stuff like this, to get into taking some sessions under Unai Emery, and then, working with the coaches under the Mikel Arteta setup. And now, so he's come from a very elite system and set up at Arsenal, and so for him to want to branch out and then recognising there's an opportunity in Luton and then going for it, considering he spent 20 plus years at Arsenal, that does speak volumes as well, I think. And it's good to get the views of those people. And I think that, your point about you didn't really know Matt Bloomfield's backroom staff, but I think we did in the Nathan Jones days, and we did in the Stilly days, your Hackans and Hayrettins of this world, and your Paul Harts and things. So I think that is another, it is another thing. And, when you're talking about finding heroes again, it is those little moments, on the pitch, maybe Hakeem Adoffin as a debut intervention as put himself forward for that. We're not there yet, I guess, but and Rome wasn't built in a day. But all these little positive things that feel like Well, getting back to the Luton that we loved, and that was another thing that, I mean, you've spoken often about this. We want to get back to Luton. Where has our Luton gone? That sort of thing. We did a very, well-watched instant reaction where you said as much after one of the disappointing defeats of this season. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really, really positive scenario. I hope that they do it more, and open it up. And open up the club to many more things, not just this, because it's essentially media, isn't it? It's fan media, but opening up just open days for fans to go down, where it doesn't have to be filmed and interviews and things like we did. I don't know what they have got in plan, because my brain is focused on wanting to speak to people and get the stories and get content and stuff like that. So, but I'm sure under the new team that is there that instigated this content creator day that we had, it feels like there's a lot of ideas popping about, and so that I think we'll get to see those things or get to hear about them.
I agree, yeah, and hopefully it's the start of sort of bigger and better communication to all of us. We all had 10 minutes with these people. We could. Couple of them we could have had an hour
more, you cheeky monkey.
You got to ride your luck, please. You never know. I was always told you never know when the next one's going to come along, so you got to push your luck at the time that you get it. And you are right, I did push my luck with Gary, didn't I? And I got sort of nearer 15 than 10 minutes. But a couple of individuals in particular, we could have done half an hour to an hour on, couldn't we? Quite easily, and we wouldn't even have been sort of filling. We would have been flowing and things from there. Thank you to everyone who's sent us feedback for the interviews that we've put out already. We love the fact that you love the interviews. We've always said we'll gladly go and interview anyone. We just need the opportunity to do it. And hopefully we proved that. If we can just ask one favour, though, if you liked the interviews, do you know what? Even if you didn't like the interviews, but you've watched the video, can you just give them a like for us or subscribe to the channel? Because if they are thinking about doing this again, then maybe the more likes that the videos get, the more views the videos get, the bigger our reach can be, and the more worthwhile it will be for them. Because if no one's watching it, it's absolutely no use to them giving up their time if no one's going to watch it, is there?
Absolutely that. And I think it's the modern world, isn't it? And that you and I started this because we were big podcast fans. In that essentially is it in the first place, wasn't it? Then we wanted to talk about something we really liked. And so we started this, and it is growing and growing all the time. And podcasts used to be just audio, but now, like us, we're on YouTube as well, and we do this thing for you, which we really love. And it's the way that people interact with things more. Social media as well. Previously all the communication was in program notes, wasn't it? And that will serve a purpose, but I would say, if you say something on the page there, also say it in a video. It doesn't have, I'd love it to be us all the time, but it doesn't have to be us. They've got club media and stuff like that. They can do that and open it up in that way. I think that it just offers a different audience, a different thing. People consume things in different ways. And, I'm really all for it. And I think, certainly, even the Gary Sweet interview, I've always said that, when he does speak, he's fairly erudite and, whether you agree with what he says or not is a different matter, but I think that's what people were after. They wanted to hear more from him, what was going on with X, Y, and Z. And yeah, we've only got 10 minutes or 16 minutes as you eked out. There was many, many more things you could say and many more questions that we wanted to ask, but we sort of had to, pick a sort of almost top 5 of things we wanted to get through in 10 minutes. We could be talking still today about it, really. And I think that, if we can open it up more like that, or if the club can open up more like that, then I think it goes a hell of a long way to allaying some of those concerns that have existed for 2 years, and sort of getting us back onto a more positive footing, I think.
Absolutely, yep. They're embracing the digital world, and as we've done on this podcast, and well done to everyone involved in setting that up, and hopefully that's not the only time it happens. Really positive thing. There's no negative to come out of that at all. And who cares, as we said in the reaction that we did down at the Brace, who cares if it's a charm offensive? So you know what? Sometimes that's fine and that's what's needed. And Certainly it lifted everyone's spirits, and I'm glad that you got to see the humane side of Jack Wilshere and how down-to-earth he is, and I thank him massively for the interview that he gave me, considering I met him literally 2 minutes before cameras started rolling. He's literally stood in front of us. I said, "Oh, we'll have you first." He sat down, and then 2 minutes later, we're off and going, aren't we? And it was almost like he'd known me for years. And of course,
Well, he buttered him up, didn't he?
Well-
It's all good knowledge, Kev. He's not stopped going on about that, by the way, if you're watching, but everyone else out there.
and the invite to training on Friday, and then we go and win a game of football on the Saturday, Jimbo. Coincidence? I do not think it is, mate.
Oh, so it was you on there, putting a Doffin on the bench, Jones on the bench, Jake Richards on the pitch. Was that you, was it?
You know me, mate. I don't take no credit for any of this stuff. But me and Jack, we know. Let's get back onto the game, because that's what everyone's listening to us for. And just a really good away day. As I say, slow to start with. First half, I don't think we're going to have too many memories of. Do you know what? I really wish Nicky Wells had scored that chance in the first half. Fair play to Jack for playing him, first and foremost, because, I said in the preview, I don't think I would have done, just because of the reaction after the Mansfield game. But he didn't. He put his man out there again. And fair play to Nicky Wells for having the balls to play like he did yesterday. I know he missed a couple of chances. Do you know what? I think we're in a situation now where the guy's trying too hard to score. Just hopefully the next time he's in front of goal, he relaxes and he finds the back of the net, because the rest of his performance was really, really good. The sort of stuff that Jack wants him in there for dropping deep and pulling a centre-half out so that his speedsters can go in behind. Very much in similar fashion to how we scored with Lamine Fanek bursting into the box and being the one to arrive late. He did that really, really well. But he's a striker. He'll want to score goals. And it's just a shame he lifted that chance in the first half over the bar.
He did, yeah. And you want him to score from that distance and that range, of course. But look at the other side of it. Is a chance created from open play, isn't it? And there have been precious few of those this season at all. So, maybe he's rusty in that sense, because no striker's had any of those chances whatsoever. Certainly in the last month and a half, really. It's just felt very barren. So that's good. If you're looking for little positive steps towards where we want to be, you can't go through the season relying on set pieces and penalties like we had done. That's got to change, and everything that Jack has talked about in terms of getting the ball forward and being positive with it suggests that is the motion of the ocean, so to speak. So that's a positive. I mean, if he'd have put that away, it kind of extinguishes to a large degree, not everything, I guess. The week that happened before, and gets the confidence up there, but. Perhaps Jack playing him was almost a masterstroke in man management of confidence, because I think everybody, including us, thought that he would come out and it would be Yates. So that's a positive as well. Hopefully he can stick them away now, because he's had a few chances this season. He had one earlier on in the season that he poked wider in his one-on-one, and you'd expect him to get those in, but. What do we always say about Elijah when he was going through sticky patches? When at least he was getting into the goal scoring positions. Well, those things had dried up for most of the strikers. So if we're back to missing chances, but we're making them, that's a healthier position. Although we'd want more to go in.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, interesting team sheet, Jimbo. 3 changes were made from the Mansfield game. I think I kind of said that it was a good thing that he saw it in all of its. Well, not its glory, in all of its horror, I guess, certainly in the second half against Mansfield. So 3 changes were made. Millie Ali, we're led to believe, was ill, so he came out the side. Mads Anderson came out, and Chris Makosso came out as well. Nigel Longwake went in. Cohen Bramall went in as well, and Jake Richards was the other one for the 3rd change. So a slightly different back four. Well, not a slightly different back four, actually, a much changed back four. Cohen Bramall left back. In your press conference, there was a massive hint that he didn't like 2 right-footed centre-halves, that he wanted a left-footed centre-half for balance. That was Cal Naismith. Tedamengi was the right centre-half, and Nigel Longwake was the right back. Same midfield 3 as the Mansfield game. Saville behind Fanny and Clark. Left wing this time, inverted winger was Gideon Kadir. Right wing, inverted winger was Jake Richards, and then the key was through the middle. First half, bit of a non-event, so we'll just go straight through to the second half. I don't know what he said at half time, but we didn't have to come out with a bit between our teeth, and some of the football we played was lovely. I mean, we could have scored, as I said in the reaction, we could have scored 4 and they couldn't have had any complaints whatsoever. I think the highlights that are doing the rounds have kind of picked out the best chances. I say chances. I don't suppose you could really call the Kadir shot that hit the crossbar a chance per se. It's just a fantastic run, really good finish. Crashed against the underside of the crossbar, and poor old Wells, it just wouldn't bounce for him. It came out kind of at an angle that he had to contort himself to head it, and he put it over the crossbar. If things are going well for Wells, that comes out for a tap in with his feet, doesn't it? But Gideon Kadir on that left wing, inverted. Now, if you go back to Jack Wilshere at Arsenal, he played in a side where Bukayo Saka did the exact same thing on the opposite side, and you look at what's gone on with Bukayo Saka. I can see this pacey inverted winger thing really catching on at Luton right now, because he has got pace to burn, hasn't he, Kadir? He absolutely has. He scared the wits out of the right back on multiple occasions. And what he does coming inside with Bramall at left back, I mean, he don't need no invitation to get on his bike either. And all of a sudden, we've got serious overloads down that side. Defender don't know whether to go inside, outside, where he's going. And Kadir just glided into the space. And if they had hit the underside of the crossbar, Yeboah style, then that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, Kadir himself has said he's quite happy to play on the left or right, and that's a good sign. And that versatility may help as well, because if you've got Izzy Jones now back in the picture, as there's a lot of competition for those wide positions.
That's inverted left winger Izzy Jones. None of this right wing back nonsense. That's couldn't have been any further apart from positions on the pitch from his last Luton appearance to this Luton appearance.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting that not long after the bench, he comes off the bench, then he creates that chance. But although Izzy Jones, when he did have to play wing back, really grew into the role in a defensive sense, that stuff he improved on a lot. He came to us as a winger, didn't he, from Borough? And I would much rather him have that impetus going forward. So we don't, those attacking players that are good at doing that don't have to worry so much about defending. Yes, you want them back and covering and stuff, but not having to get up and down so much, as which the wing back situation, never really suited anyone else but other than Alfie Doughty at the time, because he could play that really well. So that is a bonus, I think. And, having that competition with Jones back and Kadir being able to play either side, and, if one of, Ali or Morris is ill or not fit, then in he comes. And isn't it good that when he's given that role and he gets a bit of space with the run that he made, Kadir, that he lets fly? Because again, that's something that we hadn't really seen. Not a lot of shots being taken on, and that's confidence, isn't it? Well, it absolutely is confidence that you give somebody the license to do that, and then they make a positive contribution, but for a couple of inches and the woodwork, then he's celebrating a wonderful goal. So that says to me that in the short amount of time that Jack Wilshere and the three coaches have been able to implement their ideas, and really the first team coaches only really got in on the Friday before the Mansfield game. So this was their first really full week to implement those ideas so quickly. And yeah, you'd have liked more goals, but let's take it one step at a time. That says to me that that's they've had a really positive effect so far. And, we're now in a position, I guess, that you're thinking, well, now I'm really excited about how it can go, rather than worried about whether it's going to turn, ever, if it's going to turn.
Well, this is where Saturday was good, because all of the thoughts that we've had recently, and listen, I get why we go to games and we think negatively because we've seen negative stuff. You could easily have had those thoughts again yesterday. Prior to the Kadir shot, Clark had a shot which was in for all money, and then a defender appeared to just head it off the line and over the crossbar. And Jerry Yates, as soon as he came on, was played clean through on goal. He tried to go around the goalkeeper, literally hadn't touched the ball. Had he have been on 10 minutes, he just lifts this over the goalkeeper and it's 1-0, no problem. Tried to go around the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper's fingertips got the ball on it, and it's like one of those with the strikers that they're just not getting no luck. So we've missed a few chances. And you think back to last Saturday, we missed a few chances and you kind of sat there and you don't want to think this, but you've seen it so many times that you're thinking, we know how this story ends. They go up the other end and they score. Well, this time they didn't. They went up the other end. There was a ball to the back post. I couldn't quite work out who it was who hit it. I think it was Wheatley who came on. But Keeley made a brilliant save at the back post, sprawling stop. And I thought, well, maybe the luck is starting to turn. And then we hit the crossbar and you're like, well, someone give us a break. And then the goal, which is absolutely, as a counter-attack is drawn up, that's exactly how it's played out. The holding midfielder just holds onto the ball just long enough for the winger to get past his man, to have oceans of space to run into. The pass is brilliant. It doesn't look great, but it's brilliant because Izzy Jones, who is an absolute live wire, doesn't need to break stride. There's no way a defender's coming back to Izzy Jones. Whereas if it was just to his feet and he had to stop, the defender would have come back and that counter-attack's nipped in the bud. But no, Jones, and he goes on the outside, Jones, even though he's right-footed, goes on the outside, looks up, he's got Lamine Fanny absolutely busting a gut. We're sat on the side, and you can see this flash of green as Lamine Fanny's just busting a gut to get in the box. Nicky Wells busting a gut at the back post as well. Please pick out the right ball. Please. Rolled it in, on a plate, slides in, pandemonium. There's some proper limbs behind that goal when that goes in. And it just reminded me of the good times.
It is a really good move, and what I liked was Lamine Fanna's contribution to that, because that's kind of what we were promised or were thinking in the pre-season stage. And he only played that one game. Yes, it was only Boreham Wood, but we're thinking there may be a player in here that can get forward and get a few goals. But to make that run, I'm not sure we were seeing that too many times. In fact, there was barely any people of Luton persuasion in the opposition box a lot of the time, which was half the problem. And then you'd come back and pass it across the face of the 18-yard box, and the other team gets to set, and then that's the chance gone. So it's that quickness of thought. And you're right; it does seem so simple, doesn't it? But the right pass in the right space to continue the momentum it's almost something that we don't really talk about. But let's, for instance, when we went up to the Premier League, that's all they did. And that's where, the fitness is almost there, similar to those players. But what they do is they play the perfect, simple pass to get the move going. Whereas a lot of the time, what we had seen this season, balls behind players, balls to feet where you have to check yourself, and it doesn't lend itself to that. And it can only be a split second, but that's a split second enough for the other team to get back behind the ball and set their defensive formation. So that's really important. And I'm really pleased for Lamine, to be honest, not least because, well, you had, in your chat with Jack Wilshere, he said, well, who's your favourite player?
This was before the camera rolled, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. You probably haven't seen it on the video. But he said, who's your favourite player? And the look in your face was like, I'm not sure I've got a favourite player this season, which is fair enough. But then you searched the databases in the brain and dug out, and you said, I really think there's a lot more to come from Fanna. I might be paraphrasing. You may have said it more eloquently, but we have talked about him before, thinking that there is something there, but not that it's come to the fore, and maybe now it has.
I will happily die on this hill, Jimbo, that there is a footballer in Lamine Fanna, and not just a footballer, but a really good footballer. The modern game is all about athleticism, and he has got it in droves. He absolutely has, and I'm really excited about where Jack's going to take him, because it's an identical situation to the guy that Jack would have played alongside at Arsenal. Jack would have been the other kind of number 8, the ball carrying number 8, as opposed to the box-to-box number 8. But he knows all about what he needs from the other person to him, doesn't he? So he knows exactly what to get out of Lamine Fanny. I'm so excited about where we're going for him. And
the first time I've heard him speak anyway. I mean, I don't know if he did introduction video when he came here. He didn't, did he? Because he got signed and then he was
back in Sweden.
Went back to Sweden, and then he came back in January. And yeah, I've never heard him speak at all, ever. Or Hakeem Odoffin, I don't think so. Yeah, positive stuff that we're getting to hear from other people. As much as we all like Jordan Clark, he gets wheeled out because things have gone bad. And
Geezer never gets wheeled out when we win. Never. When we win, Clark isn't just happy because we've won. He's absolutely delighted that he can put his boots in his boot bag, sort his wash bag out, and clear off home because he is not doing the interviews. Yeah. He actually went off injured, didn't he? And we're led to believe it's not as bad as it looked. Just a kind of precautionary thing, we hope. It did change when we scored. Of course it was going to change when we scored. Look, 1 win in 7. We've lost that winning feeling. I mean, 50-odd defeats in 2 years. We have lost that winning feeling. So it was very much a case of, right, what we've got, we're going to hold on to. Maybe that wasn't Jack Wilshere's plan. Maybe that was a subconscious on the pitch, and we kind of dropped deeper and deeper and deeper. And we invited pressure. Naturally, I suppose. Team that's gone 1-0 down in front of their own fans are going to respond as well. Couple of dodgy fouls around the box, but Keeley bailed us out from the McGeehan free kick. Really, really good save that. And then he bailed us out again from McGeehan's flick in the box. And I don't know how Wheatley's missed the chance that's gone straight at him. Then we go into injury time, 6 minutes. No, not 6 minutes. Anything but 6 minutes. And you know there's going to be a golden chance in these 6 minutes because it's just the way that we're going right now. What you didn't know was that we were going to create a thing for them. But Cal Naismith, poor sod, he's gone to head a ball that's got zero pace on it whatsoever. Before that header, he has had an absolutely brilliant game, right? I've sat on here a few times and I've questioned his form. I didn't question it yesterday. He was absolutely brilliant from start to finish. He took one in the crown jewels in the first half. I lost count of the amount of head bashes he got in the second half, which might have led to why the header went nowhere near Keeley. I don't know. But the guy's through on goal, right? You know what's happening. We can't win a game of football. We're bang out of luck.
But he's going to stick. Was right in your mouth.
He's going to stick it in the bottom corner, isn't he? And to be fair, I mean, Keeley gets the slightest touch on the ball to slow it down a bit. But even then, Odoffin's got absolutely no right to get back to it. But he sprints back, he gets it round the post, and you'd thought we'd just scored a second goal. The celebrations on the pitch, the celebrations in the stands, the relief and everything. If we achieve what Jack came in and said he still thinks we can achieve this season, and I know we talked about taking it off the table last week, and you know, when we're not putting it necessarily back on the table, but if we achieve something, put a circle around the 25th of October, because that moment there is the time this season's changed.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. A new player comes in, almost feels like a new signing anyway. And if you can have that sort of impact, well, considering where we have been with the fullback situation all season, then I know he came in as a centre half, but that's where we think Odoffin would probably be playing, you know, when he's more integrated into the team. That sort of solved that situation as well. But just the, you know, for a player that's unburned by any of the things that have gone on this season, to come in and have that impact and to have that instant, almost like a goal celebration. You know, Mengi, you know, really dragging him out of the goal and getting him untangled from the net, and that sort of pat on the back stuff. I think it can change, and it. You know, they always talk about goals change games, don't they? But so many other incidences, other aspects of the game have had an impact. You know, before we started press record on this, you were talking about the Cody Drame tackle in the playoff semi-final against Sunderland, and you know, I mentioned Sol Davis annually gets a Sol Davis Day tweet every time it's the anniversary of that mad tackle he made against Stoke back in the day. Those things make a really big difference. And, you know, even last season, when Makosa came to the fore, you know, making a challenge just to put it out for a corner, but then really geeing up the crowd and that sort of thing. There hasn't been any of that. It's been so flat, you know, and flat's really being generous. Flat's the good side of what it had been, and you know, the other side of it has been, you know, downright toxic. So there hadn't been any of that that feeling among fans. And I genuinely do think that those things can change the narrative of where you're going. To say that, yes, we can be resilient. We can, cut things out on the line. We can keep teams out. Although we're sort of still in the same situation where every time we've kept a clean sheet, we've won a game. Those things are massively important.
Some over my dead body are you scoring defending, and it wasn't just the Odoffin block or clearance. There were a couple of times that players threw themselves in front of balls, and you sit there, and it's been so infrequent over the last 12 months that something that you should take for granted as a fan, that a player throws himself in front of a shot that's coming in on his goal. When it happens, you notice it more because it hasn't happened enough. As I say, Naismith took one into the crown jewels and took another one sort of in or around his head. I don't know if he was making the most of it to, waste a bit of time or something. I don't think he was, but it was good to see. And there was a real feeling yesterday, certainly from me, there was a real feeling that in addition to Thursday, that confidence is building. I think there is there was, on the football yesterday, we were really confident. People were trying things. Didn't always come off, but people were trying things. The players that you want to try things.
But when it didn't come off, were the travelling town contingent, were they okay with that?
There's frustration, right? Because everyone's like, but it wasn't booing.
Yes, and that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're going to have to try things, and if they try them in the right areas and they don't come off, be happy that they tried it and be supportive of what they do. You could be like, damn, it's not gone right, but not to the point where you're having Cal Naismith have to have words with the fans when they've been having a go at some of his teammates, that sort of stuff. And if you can change that, I think is another huge step towards where we want to be on the positive side of things.
That's a slow burner, but people saw that the players cared yesterday, right? Listen, I've sat here and said, Ted Mengi doesn't want to be here. Well, do you know what? I'll hold my hands up. You don't get that reaction at the end if he doesn't want to be here, there was a real, the word Jack uses, unity. There was a real unity, and the scenes at the end were wonderful. He done a little huddle with the players just on the edge of the penalty box that we were attacking in the second half, right in front of the Luton fans. He'd done a little huddle. Who knows what he said? That's not for us to know. That's a personal thing between him and them. But then they all came over to the Luton fans. They got a really positive reception. And then Jack comes over and he does the fist pumping thing and touched the badge on his chest. And even Chris Powell got involved in the emotions and everything else. And I was like, please let that be the start of something really good, because we met Jack, we met Chris. Jack's such a humble, down-to-earth person, and he's no right to be. What he's achieved in his playing career, he could easily be, to coin that annoying phrase that gets on our nerves, Billy Big, couldn't he? He could easily be that. I've played for Arsenal, I've played for England, I'm better than you, but he's not. Chris Powell's been there, seen it, done it. He's the authoritative father figure in all of this, isn't he? And for them to get lost in that kind of emotion of, yes, I know it's Jack's first win and everything else, but you could tell that there was a real in it together. We've had a really good week on and off the pitch, and we've got our rewards on a Saturday, and it was just good. I left Sixfields with a smile on my face. I've arrived in this studio and I've still got the smile on my face, and all of a sudden I want Friday night. I know this Tuesday, we'll cover on that in a minute, but I want Friday night to come because I want to see we've seen improvement from 1 to 2. Now I want to see if there's more improvement from game 2 to game 3, and maybe we might not see that if it's a changed side, but I've just got the feeling he's going to take us somewhere.
I really hope so. I mean, I think that now people have seen enough interviews, and also the one that you did, and hopefully the other content creators have putting theirs out as well. Soon you'll get to see that, to see what he's like and how he's, been addressing the situation. I think that's all positive. There was one thing at the content creator day. I couldn't get my phone out quick enough to film it, but he was, and maybe some of the other lads that were there getting content did. So I hope I'm not spoiling that.
Treading on toes.
Yeah, treading on toes. I was going to swear. That's why I was hesitating. But Jack Wilshere, England international, been to World Cups, won FA Cups, played for Arsenal. He was there in Luton's gym having a kickabout with our mate Deggy and a couple of others while we were just wrapping up some content. That's the manager of a football club, isn't it? Some managers maybe wouldn't have even gone to the evening and sat at 6 or 7 different desks having different conversations with fans, let alone the end of it, just having a kickabout with them. I think that's a really telling thing. And if nobody got that on camera, then there you go. I'm telling you about it. It was, I tried to get it out. I couldn't get my phone out in time.
Ian, he's a genuinely down-to-earth bloke. How he came across in our interview, I assume you've met him 2 or 3 other times in press conferences. I'm assuming that's how he is. He's just got a calmness and he's got a calm confidence about him. And it's a guy who ultimately has coached 4 games of football at first team coach level. And there's just something about him that what he's got about him, Jimbo, is he's got experiences. Not managerial experience, but he's got experiences of what a player feels in the good times, in the tough times. And, all of the messages that he's relayed through your press conferences, through after-match interviews, through our interview, is we will get it right, but we might need a bit of time. We all hope that we don't need time, but we might need some time. And do you know what? If they do need some time, we've got to give it to them, because I'm comfortable with what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, that we are going to go places. And some of the performances yesterday, I said it in the instant reaction, Lamine Fanny, second half in particular. Jeepers. That's a scary good performance. That's a performance that graces levels above the one that we saw yesterday. And might only be the start.
Well, let's hope so, because nothing really was going right. In any sort of sense of team cohesion, or nobody standing out. I don't know whether it was you or somebody else said that, having made 14 signings, you would have really hoped that a couple of them would have stood out and made you really excited. I think it was a social media comment that I saw, and I thought, yeah, you're right, really. Everybody had played within themselves, save for a half here or there where we, waxed lyrical about Shaden Morris on his debut, Zach Nelson at Burton, Jordan Clark really is the mainstay of the, performers out there that has really dragged Luton through when he could. If we can see more coming to the fore. Lamine Fanner didn't really get a lot of a look in at the beginning of the season. He had that concussion issue, and then he was playing a bit of catch up, but he never really got the sense that he was that favoured or fancied so much by Bloomfield. And, with Wilshere coming in and playing almost that role or adjacent, hopefully he does see stuff in him. And there was a very interesting thing that, you pick up these little tidbits, don't you? When Wilshere was talking in the post-match after yesterday, that about the things that they can work with on Fanner, and they said they will. And just that short, sharp sentence of confidence saying, right, there's still elements here that we know we can get better, but we will work on that stuff, makes you think, yeah, that this is what was needed.
Absolutely. Exactly the same as what he said to me about Millie Ali in the interview that we had on Thursday, that he can coach all the good stuff in him, but what he can't coach is that want of the football. And he does want the football, and the rest of it he can sort out. And, when he said it, you're like, yeah, I think he can. I think he will sort it out, because he's a modern guy, not long out of the game, and he knows exactly what's needed. 2 centre-halves yesterday. When I looked at the team sheet, I saw Cal Naismith and Ted Mengi. As I said at the start of the podcast, I wasn't massively surprised, because, I said he hinted in your press conference that he didn't like a right footer at the left centre half. He didn't hint, did he? He actually straight up said, I don't like the balance of a right footed centre half in the left centre half. So I was from having heard that, I was like, well, how do we get that balance then? Because the only left footed centre half is Cal Naismith, and we played him left back in the first game. So I thought he was going to play left back yesterday, but then Bramall played, and that allowed Naismith inside and Mengi, and they were brilliant. That's an aerial threat that they've negated. And they are a really direct side, Northampton. Not necessarily to the point that they want the striker to win the header all the time, but there's three people backing the striker up. There's McGee, and before the injury to their right back, there was Hoskins, and there was another one, Perkins, I think it was, constantly there to try and get the second balls. But Mengi and Naismith weren't just winning the headers; they were winning the headers in a way that they beat those three people that were backing them up, and then got the ball into our players who could turn and launch attacks. And Mengi's physicality and Naismith on the ball kind of works. And you look to the bench and you saw Mads Anderson on the bench, and obviously Chris Makosso wasn't even in the squad. For them to perform as well as that, knowing that they've got some serious competition for their places, again, there's plenty of positives from yesterday. Again, that is a massive positive, because two men who, I personally questioned plenty of times this season, to perform like that. And I know we flagged up that Northampton don't score many goals, but that's not the point. We concede plenty of goals, but not yesterday.
Yeah, well, you put those two defenders together, on paper, they're the most technically proficient two that we have in those positions. So in theory, they should, if you put them together, complement each other quite well, because one's left foot, one's right foot. Cal is a technician. Mengi has got a lot of energy and a lot of power. If he's really on it, and I know people have questioned that, you have, but I guess not that. If he's really on it, you don't bully Ten Mengi, and if he looks like he's up for it. If anything else, just the reaction to the doffing clearance. Hopefully that you've found a balance there now that you can move forward with, that feels a lot more secure. And certainly, if you're keeping a clean sheet, that bodes well as well, and it will inspire more confidence in those guys.
He said in the post-match, didn't he, Jack, that they are going to adapt to the opposition, so sometimes it won't always be the same sort of personnel, and that's fine. And again, that's the modern game, isn't it? You see that an awful lot, certainly at the top level, as games come thick and fast, which they're about to do for us now that Huddersfield game's been penned back in for the end of November, and obviously the cup games in between now and then. We mentioned in the preview about Jake Richards, potentially, could he play the wide role, couldn't he play the wide role? We played inverted winger on the right-hand side. He's not there to go past his man. He's not a Shaden Morris, Gideon Kadir kind of man. He's there to get the ball and thread the passes into the speedsters that are in front of him. He's technically proficient. He's got the perfect manager to bring all of that technicality out of him. And I don't know, maybe we've just found a position for him wide on that right-hand side, particularly if he's got a speedster of a winger or a fullback behind him, overlapping him to create even more space for him.
Let's hope so, because I think people want to see him more on the pitch than he has been, and I know Wilshere's been complimentary, but he also has said he's young. But he can only prove himself if he gets the chance, can he? He's played 30-odd games for Exeter. The bloke can play in this division. It's just then whether he fits into the team. And I had asked Bloomfield a couple of months ago where he thought his position would be when we weren't even seeing him on the bench. He said an 8, and I think that's probably his position. But we've got a lot of good 8s that are actually performing quite well at the moment. Midfield has not really been the issue for us. So if you can play over there as well to add another string to his bow, then I think that will really bode well. It solves one of the questions I was going to ask you, because I wanted to know how Jake Richard had played. So it's good to see that he did that well.
Yeah, listen, from what I've gathered of the first 2 weeks of Jack Wilshere in charge of Luton, we are going to see an awful lot more of the football than Luton fans are used to Luton seeing. Going right the way back to the Nathan Jones era, we have become accustomed to being content with Luton not having the football. But what it does do is it means your defence has got to stand up to scrutiny, because it's pretty obvious, but the more that they have the football, the more they're going to be attacking your defence. Jack Wilshere's the other way round. The more we've got the football, the less pressure's on our defence. And that's exactly how it's going to be. We had, lots of possession last week, 55% of possession yesterday. And with it comes better chances. You and I, we're too old in the tooth for this XG to be a particular thing. But it's the second game in succession that we've registered an XG of above 2. The quality of chances we're creating within this system that he's got, within this comfort and confidence on the ball that he's already installed, is there for all to see. Now, the obvious thing now is converting enough of those chances to make games much more comfortable than what yesterday was. But, it's all building blocks into the right direction. And don't know if I've mentioned it, but quite happier at the minute.
That's an interesting stat, isn't it? Because it had been way, way low down earlier in the season, and it's kind of been a problem with certainly last season as well. Creating and fashioning good quality chances has been a problem. You wondered where they were going to come from at all. Hence why I went for a 0-0 scoreline, because I just thought they don't score very much. We don't score very much. Nailed on stalemate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the people who have been asking me if I was delighted that Odoffin got that ball off the line and denied my correct score, yes, I absolutely was delighted that he got that ball off the line. I'd much rather Luton win than I pick up 3 points for Luton not winning. That's for sure. Now here's the realistic part, right? We've been here before. We've been here before recently after the Doncaster game, where hope was maybe not as much as what was given to us yesterday, because yesterday was a much more complete performance and a much more longer and much more dominant performance than that Doncaster game. But we did have hope after that Doncaster game. Now, what we need to see as a matter of huge for us peace of mind going forward is we need to see another positive performance on top of this. Maybe not Tuesday. We'll come on to that in a second, but that's going to be a much changed side, I get the impression. But Friday and then into Stockport, we can't beat Northampton in the fashion that we did and then go and shoot ourselves in the foot again for the next 2 games and undo all of the positivity that we've had from the last week. I get the impression we're not going to do that now. Starting to pick up sort of vibes that the tones weren't right around Matt's tenure towards the end, and I wonder if that's had something to do with it. But we do now have to build on this. There's no giving us hope after one game and it being the hope that kills you. Now as fans, the next level for us to rebuild where we want to be as a fan base, closer to the players and closer to the club, is that we go again and we put another performance onto this one. We find back-to-back wins, which I think I'm right in saying that we've not done since the first 2 games of the season. Back-to-back wins, and start really showing that we have drawn a line over what happened before. We are on an upward curve. However speedy we are going in that curve, that we're on that curve and it's not just an up and down booper heartbeat line.
Absolutely, that it has to be a 2 or 3 game performance, because we posed the question: has it turned for Luton now? Has the luck turned? And quite rightly, some people say no, it needs to be a few more games for us to see that. And I totally take that point. I'd almost kind of take Tuesday's game out of it if you possibly could, against the kids of Brighton. I don't think that's representative of where we're going to be, but absolutely the Friday game against Forest Green Rovers, huge banana skin. There's no point taking that lightly at all, and you shouldn't. They're going to be well up for it. Robbie Savage won't have it any other way, but they're flying as well. Now, if Luton hadn't got that result and played like they did against Northampton, I'd be quite nervous about it. I'm more confident that they can go toe-to-toe with Forest Green, and then the quality of the players that we have talked about in this episode will come to the fore more. So I'm more calm about that game. It is still a big one that you can't not turn up for. But you get a result there, move on to the next round, positive, then you bounce onto that Stockport game, which we always thought was going to be a really tough, tricky game against, well, when we were thinking about it, we thought 2 of the best teams in the league. And it probably can still be that on paper, but Luton have to prove it. Yeah, it does feel like we're on the right path. But yeah, like you say, we've deviated from that fairly quickly after being optimistic. So it's with a very, very big dollop of caution that I'd be optimistic about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm happy. I'm comfortable. I'm positive with what I saw yesterday. But then there's the caution on top. So for everyone who thinks I've got carried away with myself, I haven't. It's just been a long time since I've sat in an away end and really enjoyed it. Well, I actually stood for some of it in the away end like you do, and that was good. And let's just quickly touch on Tuesday before we do the competition and wrap up this podcast, Jimbo. Brighton at home, Brighton Under-21s at home. You never know, it might actually be Brighton Under-21s, unlike that Brentford version that brought Premier League winners and God knows how many first-team appearances with them last week. And fair play to the youngsters, actually. They put in a good shift in that game against Brentford. I know the scoreline doesn't look great, but go and look at that Brentford lineup. There's Fabio Carvalho, who absolutely ripped us a new one for Fulham in that season that you just mentioned when we got into the playoffs for the first time, when we lost 7-0 down there. A couple of others that played against us in the Championship last season as well. I mean, it was anything but an Under-21 game. They went down 6-1, but they put up a creditable performance. There's an FA Youth Cup game at Barnet on Wednesday, so we're probably not going to see as many youngsters on Tuesday night as we did against Barnet. But Jack's pretty much said he's going to make changes. He's going to use this to get the players who haven't had many minutes a few more minutes. So immediately you look at the bench on Saturday. So you've got James Shea, you've got Zach Nelson, you've got Izzy Jones, you've got Hakeem Adoffin. You would think there's 4 starters right off the bat. Just the situation on the group. We're through if we win in 90 minutes. We're through. And if we better how Cambridge get on against Brighton Under-21s, I think they play next Tuesday. Then we win the group and get a home tie in the next round. I know you're not particularly caring about the trophy, and that's absolutely fine, but we need to create a winning mentality.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost way too many games of football. Let's not sling this away. Yes, make changes. I think that's absolutely right to make changes. It's an ideal time to get players' fitness of those that are coming back and those that have been patient enough to sit on the bench for the last few weeks. It's absolutely right to get them game time in here. But don't go in there with an impression of don't caring. Let's get a winning mentality that whatever the situation, whatever the competition, we're going to win the game of football, because winning breeds winning. Because we know all too well what the opposite side of the coin is. Losing breeds losing, because we keep on doing it.
Yeah, you have to use it as a way to kickstart something, and it's a perfect opportunity. I mean, regardless of my feelings about the trophy, and I'll jump on the bandwagon happily if we get further down the line. I'm not going to make any bones about that. But I don't think that you should be playing Premier League Under-21 or kids in the tournament. I think that's disrespectful to the first teams of lower league clubs. But it is what it is. We're going to have to play them. It could be another banana skin, but it could also be a big opportunity to go there, put in a confident performance, hopefully get a couple of goals and maybe some for the strikers to give them some confidence, and then bounce onto that Forest Green run, because you bounce into that FA Cup game with 2 victories and quality performances, and then you're on a little bit of a roll. You can then go in there with some confidence that this high-flying team in the conference aren't going to come here and throw the kitchen sink at you and you're going to be under siege. I suspect that you'll have to defend a bit against them. But I feel more confident that banana skin's going to stay well away from Kenilworth Road.
Yeah, let's hope so. If you've not got tickets to the game or you're not going to the game, I think tickets are still available. Do check that. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff, which is good for half term, so kids aren't out particularly late. And if you're not going to the game, it is on Sky Sports Plus, so you can watch it on TV. We'll do a full preview as normal for the Forest Green game. That'll be out to you at a normal time, so we'll save the preview of the Forest Green game. Until then, competition time, Jimbo. Lots of entries for the last week's competition for Rob Hadgraff's book, and let's get the winner of that one done before we do the competition for the final book that we've got to offer. Who put the ball in that Middlesbrough net from that wonderful volley on the opening day of the 2019-20 season? Of course, it was the great Sonny Bradley, and what an absolute pinger it was.
What an evening it was.
What an
I
evening.
absolutely love that
One
game.
of my favourite games. It is.
So good. The buzz of it being back in the Championship.
Under the lights.
A year earlier than was planned for. What a day. If you talk about resilience and where we need to get back to, it's that game, because it was an absolute roller coaster. But that shot, whew, I don't think he's ever hit anything as good as that, Sonny Bradley. He does score a lot of goals.
He does, yeah, absolutely. Absolute cracker. And plenty of you got the right answer. And once again, we've put it into the Wheel of Fortune, and Jimbo's going to decide the winner on his phone. Press the button.
Press the button.
That's it.
That's going round and going round and going round for anyone that's just listening on the audio podcast. And it's stopping at Callum Lee. You wouldn't believe it, would you? Well done, Callum. If you're a regular watcher of the show, then Callum's been on the show. He's the lead singer of the class. Would you believe that? That is unbelievable.
Absolutely. The reason why Jimbo's laughing is myself and he spoke about having Callum back on the podcast before we started rolling the cameras, and lo and behold, he's won the book. Callum, drop me a message once again, mate, please, and via email, and let me know your address, and I'll get that book sent out to you. Congratulations. Don't worry though if you haven't won either of these first two books, because you could be third time lucky. We've got a third and final copy of Rob Hadgraff's book to give away. It's titled The Luton Town's Miracle, The Fairy Tale Rise from Non-League to the Premier League. It's a month-by-month chronicle of that remarkable decade-long journey from obscurity to football's top table. And it is a must-read for any Luton Town fan. So, to be in with a chance of winning this third and final copy, once again, you've got two ways to enter. If you're watching this on YouTube, just subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment your answer to the following question. I'm laughing already about this question. I am. Which Luton forward scored against Reading in 2022 by hiding behind their goalkeeper and waiting for him to unknowingly drop the ball? I'll repeat that. Which Luton forward scored against Reading in 2022, that very season that Jimbo just recollected a minute ago, by hiding behind their goalkeeper and waiting for him to unknowingly drop the ball? If you're listening on audio, don't worry, you can still enter. Just email your answer to me at media, MEDIA, at lutontownsporterstrust.com. In the subject line, write LTST Podcast Giveaway 3. Include your answer plus your name. Entries for this one close on Sunday, November the 2nd at 5 p.m. and we'll pick the winner via the Wheel of Fortune at random, and we'll announce it on the review episode of the Forest Green FA Cup game. And you can find all the competition details in the show notes, and I can finally breathe. So good luck to everyone who is playing that. It's a third and final copy of this book. So please do get your entries in, and we'll announce a winner next Sunday.
We will do. I can't believe that the Wheel of Names has picked out Callum there. That's but you also it was very random.
I think he's got to come. Yeah. I think he's got to come back on the podcast now, hasn't he?
Callum, you've got to come back on the podcast now to earn it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll give you it anyway, but yeah, come on.
Absolutely.
I saw him the other week actually, at one of the gigs that I put on with my music pals in the castle. A very packed castle for the Dirt from Manchester and the return of Luna Rosa after about 3 years away. So I saw him there, had a little natter, but we only talked about music that time. So now you're going to have to come back on and talk about football.
Absolutely right. Yep, for sure. Jimbo, neither of us got the correct score. Neither of us went 1-0 Luton. In fact, neither of us went for a Luton win, did we? Us pessimistic sods. But there were plenty of people out there who did get Luton 1, Northampton 0. 8 of you, in fact. And here we go. Here's your shout out. Mason McIntyre, Nick Weatherhead, Carl Mitchley 5742, Phil Oliver 5118, Barry Braham, Terry JC 1971, D Cremio and Fleety 1885. Well done. You're all going to get 3 points on our leaderboard, which, unfortunately, because of everything that we've done this week, Thursday, and all the content that we've done, I've not got the leaderboard up to date. So what I will do, Over the course of this week, I will post the full leaderboard back on the Supporters Trust website so that you all know exactly where you are going into that Forest Green game. That gives me a few more days to get that done. So really sorry for that. But that content day just came out of the blue.
Yeah, it did. And there's still some more to watch as well. So the best thing for you to do is go and subscribe to the YouTube page, or if you listen on podcast, wherever your platform is, on there, go and subscribe. You'll get all the notifications of when those podcasts drop. We've still got 3 more to come from the 2 first team coaches, Tim Corcoran, David Bridges, and player recruitment manager Yusuf Sajjad. So look out for those. And as we're recording this, the Chris Powell one has just dropped. So you can go and watch that as well. Lots of good reactions to that so far, that he speaks very well, and he does.
He really does. And Jimbo does that one, and he does a brilliant job. I was behind the cameras for that one, and I was engrossed, and I've listened back to it as well because I was taken away at one point, and it's an absolutely fantastic interview, so do check that out.
Thank you.
That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast. Once again, thank you to everyone who has interacted with us about the interviews that we've done and that we've put out recently, about the podcasts that we've done, and everything in between, whether you've done it on social media, whether you've seen us in person, or even in the comments to wherever it is that you get these podcasts. We do look, we do take notice, we try and acknowledge each and every one where we can, and we're so massively appreciative of it. Positive podcast, Jimbo. Could do more of these.
Well, we could do, but every time we do a positive podcast, something goes awry, which is why they've got to turn up against Brighton and do the Bizdo against Forest Green as well. And then if they could do that, then things might be on the up.
I'll have a word with my best mate Jack and see if I can go and take training on the eve of the Forest Green game, because we know it works now, don't we?
You do that. You tell him all about inverted wingers and Hakim Adoffin, Izzy Jones.
Absolute easy game, this, mate.
It is when you pick the team, mate.
Of course, I jest. He's perfectly good at doing that himself without my input. Thanks again to all of the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, and to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. As always, really appreciate all of your support, guys. Until next time, which, well, from Jimbo and myself together, will be a preview of the Forest Green FA Cup game. Well, let's hope that it's the start of something really, really special. Come on, you Atters.